Hello, I am Fernando Hernandez, and I am listening to my song, Adrian Hernandez.
Welcome to the show that we still don't got an intro for. It is the Sporting Tribune Today, episode 9. Adrian Hernandez here. Kind of excited. Look at us. We're almost reaching double digits. Why do I keep... I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't know if you caught that, but I was about to say double digits. And this is the second time I'm recording this intro, and I'm not doing a third. I don't even know what double means, but regardless, we are almost reaching double digits on the podcast. We thank each and every one of you for joining in. And finally, we get to talk some basketball. As we get to know each other and as this podcast expands and we get more episodes in, I need you to understand when it comes to this sports media thing, whether it's here at the Sporting Tribune or at my day job at Odyssey and 1140 The Bet Las Vegas and 98.5 The Fan here in Las Vegas, I love all sports, okay? But basketball is the one that has my heart. So the fact that we have done 9 episodes, have had at least 3 bonus episodes on our feed here on Spotify or on the Sporting Tribune on YouTube. And we haven't really gotten into like a full-on, full-blown basketball conversation. Kind of hurts my heart, but we heal my heart today because joining us for the first time, Joey Lynn, who covers the Clippers here for us at the Sporting Tribune, Sports Illustrated. He also has a podcast here on the Sporting Tribune podcast network called Clips Convos. Super dope dude, very active on social media, covering the Clippers from all different type of angles. And the thing is too, is like in my day job with sports radio and being here in Las Vegas, out of nowhere, ever since Derek Carr was benched, like my football attention and covering the Raiders and all this news and all this trade rumors and this, that, and the third with Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow and Tom Brady and all this stuff, my attention has been so focused on giving coverage to that I haven't had time to really deep dive into the NBA. And I used to like the Clippers when it was Montrezl Harrell, when Pat Bev was over there, Landry Shamet, when they went up against the Warriors in the first round in 2019, I think it was, and they won 6 games when they had Lou Will. Like, there's a soft spot in my heart for Elton Brand and Darius Miles and all these classic Clippers. So following these people on Clippers Twitter, they're very upset. Like, they're upset. They're frustrated. The Clippers are all right. I think they're the current 6th seed in the West. They're doing a lot better than the other team that they share a building with when it comes to the NBA. But a lot of people are upset. Paul George, Kawhi, injuries. Are they playing? Every day is a search. Every day is like, you don't know what you're going to get from this team or who's going to be on the court. So we're going to clarify all that. So coming up, Joey Lynn's going to join us. Also joining us for a second time, covering everything going on here in this city of Las Vegas. Steve Karp's going to join us because if you visit and check out our work at thesportingtribune.com, he wrote an interesting article kind of explaining where we're at currently with a ballpark being built, a major league ballpark that is being built here in Las Vegas, preferably and most likely on the Strip, and also what's going on in Oakland with the Athletics and the new stadium, and they have a new mayor, a new city council. You know, a lot of political things play a part in decisions like this, whether it's a new stadium in Oakland, a new stadium here in Las Vegas, and what he feels is the latest with this team and where they're going to be. And we get into some other things as well, because the MLB isn't the only city, or sports league rather, that wants to come here to Las Vegas. The NBA, MLS, so there's a lot. And also, we'll quick hit you. I'll give you my quick little preview of the championship games this weekend as we finally get to see who's going to be in the Super Bowl, and also the Royal Rumble this weekend. Like, please don't sleep on that Saturday night. If you're listening to us on Friday, it comes out tomorrow. The Royal Rumble tomorrow. That's a big deal. You know I love my wrestling. I'll give my pick for that too. But let's head over to me as I interview Steve Karp. This is the Sporting Tribune Today, episode 9. joining us for a second time, becoming a familiar face around here on the podcast, Las Vegas columnist, Hall of Fame sports writer, and a man who's just everywhere in Las Vegas with all the sports. Steve Karp joins us. Steve, first and foremost, Happy New Year. How's it going, friend?
Going well, thank you. Good to be with you again.
Of course. And, you know, the reason I wanted to have you on specifically, and if you go on the sportingtribune.com, you can see the article and the story for yourself. But you wrote a piece, and the article headline is "More Twists and Turns in Possible A's Move to Vegas." For those that haven't read, could you just tell us more about it and where we are with that?
Well, we were hoping we have a definitive answer by now about where the A's are going to be playing baseball in a couple of years. Unfortunately, this thing remains bogged down in political, financial, environmental morasses. And I don't know that we're going to see a resolution anytime soon. Oakland has a new mayor, a new city council. It applied for a grant of $182 million to help with the infrastructure, which is, I believe, going to run about $340 million that they have to pick up the tab for. They applied for a grant. And I don't know if you know anything about grants, Adrian, but when you apply for it, you have to write it a certain way.
Yeah.
And apparently, whoever wrote the grant for the city did not do it properly, and it was rejected by the Department of Transportation. This is federal money we're talking about, not from the state of California or from Alameda County or anything. This is from Washington. So they are basically going back to the drawing board. They're going to rewrite the grant, resubmit it, and hopefully it gets approved in the coming months. But we're talking about a $12 billion project here. We're not talking about just a few hundred million. And as we saw in Las Vegas with the attempt to bring the Raiders here, it's a slow process. It takes time. However, the A's have been going at this this current ownership for about 7 years or so. Prior ownerships, it goes back to the 1990s when they tried to build a ballpark in San Jose, and Bud Selig, who was the commissioner of baseball at the time, said no. The Giants opposed it because the Giants believe that San Jose is their market, not the A's. So the A's decided, well, we'll go a little bit south of Oakland to Fremont. And Lou Wolf was the owner of the A's, and he couldn't make it happen. There was resistance. There were environmental issues. He didn't really have the money to build a ballpark. So here we are, 2023. We're no closer to a resolution than we were a year ago. In the meantime, the A's are pretty much set on a site near the Tropicana Hotel, which is in the resort corridor, where T-Mobile Arena is, where the MGM Grand Garden is, where Michelob Ultra Arena is, where the Aces play, and the new lacrosse team. And, of course, Allegiant Stadium, where the Raiders play, and UNLV football. So if you've been to any events in these places, traffic can be very challenging.
Hellacious, to say the least.
Yeah. So if you're going to build a ballpark like right on the strip, which is what the A's want to do, I just think there are going to be nights when they play the Yankees or the Red Sox where you know you're going to sell out and you're going to have 30, 35,000 people in this ballpark. It's going to be a nightmare getting in and out of there. It just is. I mean, you just go to the strip any weekend and the traffic is brutal. So at this point, we really don't know where this is going to end up. My gut feeling tells me they stay in Oakland because I don't see with the new governor in Nevada, and Joe Lombardo, that he's going to commit to public funding for a stadium that's going to run approximately $2 billion, which is what Allegiant Stadium costs to build. And that was with $750 million of public money. So they may have to scale back this $12 billion project at Howard Terminal in Oakland because that just may be too ambitious. If you want to build a ballpark, you can build an open air ballpark for a billion or so. And I say that like it's a trivial thing, but it's not, obviously. $1 billion is a lot of money. But you could build an outdoor 35,000 seat stadium in Oakland without all the other stuff. And you can be ready to play in a couple of years. It'll take a while to clean up the site from an environmental standpoint. They've done all the studies. And remember, this thing has been sitting dormant for decades.
Yeah.
So suffice to say, it's a mess. My other issue with the A's is if you're going to bring a team to Vegas, you can't bring a team with a payroll of $44 million. Okay? I mean, right now, their projected payroll for this coming season is $37.4 million. All right? I mean, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander of the Mets makes more money individually than the entire A's roster and payroll. Same with Aaron Judge. Same with Anthony Rendon and the Angels. And just about what Mike Trout makes. So you got to put a better product on the field. You can't put – we already have a minor league team in Vegas that happens to be the A's AAA team, the Aviators. We don't need two AAA teams in Vegas. So my gut's telling me that in the end, this thing will stay in Oakland and they'll figure it out.
And I guess the assumption is that if they do actually move to Vegas, we would hope that there would be some investment on these players on the field. But with you saying that your gut feeling is that the A's stay in Oakland, it'll lead me to my next question, because obviously the MLB team isn't the only rumored franchise coming to Vegas. You got baseball, you got the NBA, you got the MLS. Out of those three, and a lot of people are pointing to 2024 because of TV contracts for a lot of these leagues. What do you see in the future for Vegas? Do you see any of these sports leagues coming to Vegas? Do you see two of them, three of them? Where are you at with that?
I really believe that the NBA is coming. I think they will expand by two. I think Seattle will be the first team to get a franchise. And we're talking in the billions here, all right, for an expansion franchise fee, which is insane. But, when you look at what the Clippers went for, what the Suns went for, it's not that out of reach that a Vegas or Seattle expansion team franchise would, go for a couple billion, which obviously is money that the other 30 owners would split up along with the league. It's a free revenue stream for them. And I think the Oakview Group, the people who are proposing to build the arena out on Blue Diamond Road near the 215 interchange, have the wherewithal and the experience to do it. Plus, the NBA has worked with them before. And I do think this market has always been a good basketball market, going back to, obviously, UNLV under Tarkanian. But certainly the NBA has had a foothold here for years with the Summer League, with the Lakers playing here every year, the Clippers have played here. And now with the WNBA doing well, with the Aces, I definitely see the NBA coming. I think MLS will be here eventually. And once they can get an ownership group ready to go, along with a plan to build a soccer-specific stadium, which I believe near the site of the NBA arena, proposed to be built out on Blue Diamond. I think we will see that before we see baseball. I think people here who live here enjoy the AAA team. They love going to the Las Vegas ballpark in Summerlin. It's a great place to watch the sport. It's easy to get to from pretty much anywhere in the valley. And, you're not paying major league prices to go watch what essentially would be a similar product if you think about what the A's are offering. at the moment. Now, obviously, that could change if John Fisher decided he put $100 million more into his ball club and make sure that they could compete with the teams in their division. Artie Moreno just decided not to sell the Angels the other day. And how many billion has he spent trying to win a championship? So the A's would have to play a lot of catch up just to compete within their division with the Astros and the Mariners and the Angels and the Rangers. That being said, they could do it if they're willing to commit to the resources in order to put that kind of a product on the field. That would fall to Billy Beane, obviously, and we all know his background. He's always looking for those kind of uncovered diamonds, those gems that nobody wanted, and try to compete that way.
And before we get you out of here, I want to touch base too on the Raiders and on VGK. We'll start with VGK because we're recording this on, what is it today? Thursday? No, it's Wednesday. We're recording this Wednesday night. They just lost to the New Jersey Devils. They've kind of been struggling. They're still atop the Pacific Division as we speak. But where are you at with VGK right now?
Yeah, I wrote about this morning. They are a befuddling franchise. They have the ability to compete, even with Mark Stone and Shea Theodore out. Now, Theodore is supposed to return to the lineup on Friday when they play the Rangers at Madison Square Garden. But they have some of their better players underperforming recently. Jack Eichel, most notably. I mean, this guy's being paid $10 million, the most of anybody on the team. He can't go without a goal for 6 straight games like he's done. Chandler Stevenson struggling. You got to be able to get your best players to perform. And, when your coach calls you out, which is what Bruce Cassidy did last week with Eichel, that's sending a strong message to everybody in that room that you got to pick it up and pull your own weight. Now, we don't know if Mark Stone's going to be back at any point. We don't know if he's going to be put on long-term injured reserve. So let's assume that Stone is unable to keep playing this year and he's going to need another surgery on his back. Well, he makes $9.5 million. So his salary would not go against the cap, and they would have some room to go and trade for somebody before the March 3rd deadline. And there are a few good players out there. Timo Meyer of San Jose, Bo Horvat of Vancouver. Both of those guys could step in right away and help this team in terms of scoring. They are going to get Theodore back, like I said. They will get Zach Whitecloud back soon, maybe after the All-Star break. Will Carrier will be back at some point. So they do have the pieces there to not only stay atop their division, but perhaps make a deep run into the playoffs, assuming they get there. But they've got to start playing more consistently, and that's kind of where we're at as they finish out this road trip before the long winter All-Star break.
At least they're still at top of the Pacific Division. We can hold on to that.
The Kings and the Kraken and even Edmonton and Calgary are right on their tails. I mean, they, before the week's over, they could be on the outside looking in at the playoffs. I don't think that would be the case, but if those teams and the Knights keep losing, I mean, yeah, they got a point last night. They should have won the game. They had a power play with 10 minutes to go, and I don't even think they registered a shot on goal during that power play. They would have given them a 3-1 lead, and they would have had a little cushion to work with. But this is part of the problem, too. You got to execute when you have the man advantage, and didn't do it.
And Steve, before we get you out of here, first off, follow Steve on Twitter, SteveCarp56, CARP56. We need to talk about the Raiders, so I'm asking you this final question, easy peasy, very open-ended, excuse me. Who's going to be the quarterback for the Raiders next year?
Somehow I knew you were going to ask me that. Yeah, it could be Tom Brady. It could be Aaron Rodgers. It could be Jared Stidham. It could be some rookie they draft. Or
Jimmy G.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could throw him in the mix, but honestly, with his injury history, are you going to really commit to Garoppolo? It's, to me, they're in a bit of a tough spot. I mean, if I'm Dave Ziegler, I had a chance to look at Jared Stidham. He didn't play that badly those last two games. I mean, not too many teams beat the Chiefs anyway, so they make a lot of quarterbacks look bad. And he did okay against the 49ers. So perhaps he deserves a shot to win the job out of training camp. My guess will be, because of their relationship with Brady, and apparently Brady moving on from Tampa Bay, he will probably be their quarterback in the present, and they will look to draft their quarterback in the future. And right now they have the 7th pick in the draft. Will they move up? Will somebody fall to them at 7?
CJ Stroud.
So unpredictable, Adrian. You have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, when they all gather in Kansas City in April, I mean, somebody may, flop and bomb out at the combine. Somebody may move up that they didn't expect to be there. There might be a guy still on the board that they didn't think would be, and they grab him. But yeah, I do think the Raiders will be looking to draft a quarterback. And at the same time, they've got holes all over the place to fill. They gotta figure out their defense. They gotta get better in the secondary and at linebacker. They gotta
offensive line as well, like you said, a lot of pieces.
Gotta get that thing stabilized once and for all. They gotta is Josh Jacobs coming back? Is Devontae Adams going to stay? I mean, what if they don't get the right quarterback? What if Devontae Adams says, I'm out of here?
Well, to that point,
are they going to franchise tag Jacobs? And he won't be happy. He was unbelievable this year. He deserves to get paid. And if the Raiders don't want to pay him, there's a lot of NFL teams that will. So they've got a lot of question marks as we head into the offseason. And frankly, where's Derek Carr going to wind up? Is he going to wind up with the Jets? Is he maybe going to Miami or Indianapolis? I mean, he's going to play somewhere for somebody. That we know. We just don't know who. But I guarantee you Derek Carr is going to be in an NFL uniform playing quarterback somewhere this coming season.
No, absolutely. And I'll leave you with this thought. If you listen to the reports from Jeremy Fowler yesterday saying Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow might be on the trade block, Ziegler and McDaniels want to bring in their guys. What if they don't contend next year? Is Mark Davis going to stand for it? The fans are already on edge due to everything that's happened, especially with Derek Carr. So it's a very volatile situation with the Raiders, but we got plenty of time throughout the offseason as we head into the draft to talk about it. Again, follow Steve Karp, who does great work for us here at the Sporting Tribune, at Steve Karp 56, sportingtribune.com. Steve, as always, thank you.
Always good to be with you, Adrian. Have a great day.
Quick hot take in between these interviews. Who do I want to see in the Super Bowl? Well, I'm glad I asked myself that question, and I'll answer it here publicly. I want to see the Bengals take on the Eagles. I want to see Jalen Hurts versus Joe Burrow. I think that would be lit, accompanied by Rihanna at a halftime show. Who doesn't want to see that? Much love to Steve Karp for joining us. Be sure, again, to follow him on Twitter at SteveKarp56. Oh, by the way, next week, huge announcement for the future of this podcast. A really big announcement that we are excited to say. We just can't say it till next Friday. But in the meantime, here's Joey Lynn. This is the Sporting Tribune Today podcast. Episode 9 of the Sporting Tribune Today continues. And right now we can finally talk some basketball. Well, at least kind of. Joining us, beat writer for the LA Clippers, works for Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation, hosts a podcast as well for us here on the Sporting Tribune, and quite frankly, works his ass off, which is why it's taken us so long to get him on the show. But without further ado, Joey Lynn joins us. Joey, what's up, man? How you doing, bro?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on, and apologies for taking so long. But like you said, the grind is real, especially being on the beat. This team is they're practicing, they're doing their shoot-arounds. They're obviously, at the arena playing games, and I'm there for all of that. So I appreciate you having me on, and I'm happy that I was able to make it.
No, of course. And then more than many other teams in the league, you got to always be there for the injury report because we got to see his
Absolutely,
play.
man. I've been waiting around my phone around 5 o'clock, 5:30 every night, waiting for that notification because the fans are waiting on it.
No, 100%. And before we get into hoops and the trade deadline, and kind of where the Clippers have been at this season, we need to get to know you. So we're calling this a speed round, some random questions, a lot of things that I want to know. What's your favorite of this, that, and the third? So we'll start off. If you had to lose one finger on both hands, which finger are you choosing?
Off the top of my head, I'm gonna go left pinky just because I'm right-handed.
No, but you got to lose both pinkies.
Oh, I gotta lose both. All right. Yeah, I'll probably still go with the pinky just because you think if you're gonna throw a baseball, if you're gonna pick up a pen, if you're gonna type, like a lot of those different things, you're probably not gonna need the pinky for. Not that I wouldn't miss it, but it would probably be the one I would choose.
Do you have a pop socket on your phone?
I don't know.
So you don't. The pinky's like key to holding the phone.
Yeah,
like
you're right. Now that I think about it, I picked my phone up. Could I do it with that? Yeah, I could probably still do it without the pinky. I'd probably just have to prioritize holding it with both hands.
These are facts. Who's your favorite rapper?
Lil Wayne, by far.
What's your favorite hobby?
Playing video games.
Ooh, well then the new one. Favorite game?
MLB The Show, probably. That's, when I was a kid, I played all sports games, stuff like that. But for whatever reason, I just became so much better at the show than so many other games. Like, I was always so much better than my friends.
Diamond Dynasty?
Oh, I'm a dog in Diamond Dynasty. Yeah,
Do you do Battle Royal or do you do like the season mode?
Yeah, I go 12-0 every year, multiple times. What you talking about?
Yo, MLB The Show, for those that haven't played, is the hardest video game of all time. To the point that when I first got my PlayStation, when I finally made contact on a foul tip, I ran around the house in joy because I finally made contact because it's that hard. But we'll move on. Your first pro sports jersey you owned.
It's funny. We were just talking about it. You got a Cleveland Guardians hat on. It was Vinny Pastano, relief pitcher for the then Cleveland Indians, who as I just told you before we went live, grew up right next door to me. So
literally, people, literally
crazy, literally right next door to me. So he was drafted by Cleveland in 2006. Got his jersey, of course, and I became a Cleveland baseball fan. I really became a baseball fan in general because of him. He went to Cal State Fullerton, watched them win the national championship in 2004. And then when he got drafted by Cleveland, got his jersey. So that's my first sports jersey. First basketball jersey was Blake, of course.
Your favorite show of 2022?
Talking about TV shows?
Yeah.
I'm going to keep it honest with you, man. I don't turn the TV on unless it's to watch basketball or baseball. So people call me crazy. They say, man, why you don't get in any TV shows? I really don't. So, I mean, I guess on a technicality inside the NBA, if you want to call that a show.
That qualifies.
I'll give you that answer then.
Third grade hoopers talking smack on the basketball court. Of course, the viral video. Is that a major W or major L?
It's a great question. I've actually gone back and forth on it because when I saw Evan Fournier's tweet, I agreed with it. And then I saw Katie's tweet and I kind of agree with that as well. I know as a kid, when I was growing up, I mimicked the pros, both on the baseball field and on the basketball court. I tried to Vlad Guerrero was my favorite baseball player when I was a kid. So I naturally swung at everything, right? So it's just kind of the way that it goes. So I get what KD's saying. I think I lean in that direction, but I also think it's on the coaches as well to not necessarily discourage it, but to let them know, like, hey, there's a time and a place. Like, it doesn't need to be every single possession.
We're down by 30.
Every single bucket. Like, yeah, if it's a big play, show some emotion. I don't have a problem with that. But in terms of, doing it on every play, I think it'd probably scale back a little bit.
All right, two more speed round questions. This weekend is the Royal Rumble. Big wrestling fan here. But for you, any era, how many wrestlers can you name?
Oh, man. Jeez, dude. Not a whole lot. I mean, I used to play the WWE 2K games back as a kid. So, honestly, man, like off the dome, it's just going to be like John Cena. It's going to be Hulk Hogan. It's going to be, The Rock. Kind of like the most popular ones. But in terms of going any further into that, I know my buddy Farbod, who I write with, he reps Miro. So I know him. There's not a whole lot, though, to be honest with you. I never gotten too far into it outside of just playing the video game.
Focused on the game. I like it. And then, so my last one, your favorite Clipper that you've covered.
Okay. That's a great question. I'm gonna probably go Luke Kennard. He is probably the first player that got to know me, like knew my name, and I got close with him at training camp. No, not yet. No, summer league actually. I saw him and then saw him again at training camp in Vegas, and he was super cool to me because he had known that I'd actually been showing him love since before he came to the Clippers because I'm a big Blake Griffin fan. And when Blake got traded to Detroit, Luke was still a rookie there, and I remember Luke was getting a lot of hate just because he was drafted one pick before Donovan Mitchell. So like,
Yeah.
while he obviously wasn't Donovan Mitchell, he was still really good, and he was probably their best shooter at that time. And I always just thought it was kind of unfair to him. So I've been supporting him since he was with Detroit. And then when he came to the Clips, like I told him that story when I first met him at training camp, and he appreciated that, and he's shown me love since. So I got a good relationship with him. And then other than that, probably Reggie. Reggie's super dope, cool guy to cover. So I mean, really everybody on the Clips has been super cool.
Dope. Well, we'll head into the basketball stuff right now. And I'm going to be honest with you, and I didn't tell you. So here in Las Vegas, I'm also part of a radio station here with Odyssey, which means that I've been very, very busy with football stuff. Raiders, Tom Brady rumors, this, that, and the third. So for me and those like me that kind of haven't gotten into that basketball mind state, as we head into the trade deadline and the All-Star break for the Clippers, what's kind of been the story this season, and where do you see them right now currently?
Yeah, I've talked about it quite a bit on my own pod, and I think one of the things that you're going to have to keep an eye on is what they should do and what the front office thinks they should do. Because I think I have a different opinion on what direction the Clippers should go other than the front office does. Because if you look at the way they moved in the last few seasons, they really put a big emphasis on point guard play. They really care about that. I mean, they traded 2 seconds in Lou for Rondo in 2021. They went and signed John Wall for the whole mid-level exception. They care a lot about point guard play, but so far this season, their 2 point guards, and John and Reggie, have probably been the 2 worst rotation players on the team. And I hate to say I love both those guys as people, but it's just been a rough year for them. So the Clippers have been at their best this season when their point guards have been off the floor, and one of Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, or Norman Powell have been running the bench group or even the starting group. And I think that that's something that the Clippers should lean into entirely, where they either sit their 2 point guards down, deal one of them or deal both of them, and just kind of lean into the guard play that they have had good production with so far this season. I think that's what they should do. However, unfortunately, I do have a bad feeling that they're going to make a deal for a guy like Mike Conley or a guy like Lowry, like an older kind of past their prime point guard, just because they fit the point guard description that this team likes. So that's what I think they're going to do, although I wouldn't like to see it. I would hope they would use whatever package they would send out in a deal like that for a backup big, but I suppose we'll have to wait and see.
And it's going to sound weird for me to say, but this team really has no other choice but to go for a championship, because 2024 is staring them at the face, and what could happen if Kawhi and Paul George leave. But also, the West is really wide open, and even the Grizzlies and some of these teams, like everyone has a flaw.
Well, the Grizzlies are fine in the West. Don't talk about
Well, I mean,
that.
yeah, well, I mean, their offense, but their offense though.
Okay.
okay. Because like they still need to score. Like John's not going to get to the foul line as much in the playoffs. But for you, with the West being as open as it is, do you still view this team as an actual contender?
I'm not ready to say that yet. What I said on my last podcast is that I think they're one move away, and that one move would be leaning into their guards like Terrence and Luke and Norm, and kind of going away from Reggie and John. I think if they decide that they really do need a traditional point guard on the floor at all times, and they continue to find themselves with these pairings of, like Reggie and Norm or John and Norm, and kind of like different small guard combinations that have to see the floor at some point because they're so dead set on playing one of Reggie and John, I'd be much more out on them than if they were to lean more into what I believe is their more optimal lineup construction. So it kind of is to be determined. I think they have the pieces, if that answers your question. I do think they have the necessary pieces. It's just a matter of whether or not they will put them in place in order to get to where I think they can get to if they play their cards right.
So in terms of the trade deadline, do you have a wish list? Like, what's your most favorable outcome? Is there a certain player or somebody that you want on the roster that you think they should go after?
I would just like to see them use 1 or 2 expirings plus maybe a young piece and a pick, whatever it would take to bring in a backup center. And I understand why some people are hesitant to part with assets to bring in a player who likely wouldn't see much time in the playoffs. But I still think it's an important piece to have because a guy like Moses Brown, who plays hard and, I like the dude, he's not really fit for that role. And it's actually been a role that's had rotation minutes this season. It's not just like a break the glass in case of emergency type situation. A guy like Moses has actually played rotation minutes at times throughout the year. So if you give those minutes to a much more capable backup center, now you have at least some production coming from that small role. And in case of emergency, you're not having to inherently go small if Zoo gets in foul trouble or rolls an ankle or something like that.
Sidebar: when you say young pieces, Terrence Mann, is he untouchable?
No.
The kid's nice.
No.
Yeah,
It's like,
okay.
no. It's like the guys that are playing in the G League, like Brandon, Jason, those guys who I like as well, but would potentially be the type of player that a team willing to send out their backup center might say, hey, not exactly down to just take your 2 expiring deals on, in exchange for my productive backup center. Either give me a future pick or, Brandon or Jason. And that would be something that I would, probably be able to get behind. Luke and Terrence, no, not at all. No, absolutely not.
Gotcha. And before we get your plugs, my last question, because like I said, I haven't been able to watch as much as I'd like. Do have a lot of people on Clippers Twitter that I follow. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I know they're on a good run now. It's been very negative. People are like, I'm not even excited to watch these games. So hypothetically, we head into the postseason. This team, whether Kawhi and PG are on the court for a lot of it or a little bit of it, they, let's say, get bounced in the first round. Is Ty Lue on the hot seat if that happens, or is he on it now? Like, where are we with him?
It's tough because I thought that Doc had like the peak amount of job security when it came to his role and his stature within the organization. And it, one bad playoff collapse with Kawhi and PG, and he was out of there. So I don't think they would have as quick of a hook with Ty just because he has had, even just in his first year with the Clippers, more playoff success than Doc ever had with the Clippers. And I think he has, at least right now, kind of the benefit of that. They haven't really had a lot of time together. Guys have been out. Like, even if you do enter the playoffs, like, how much do you really know about the team at that point? So I do think that they would kind of have like that bit of a safety blanket for him. So I wouldn't consider him in the hot seat now or even with an early playoff exit. But again, I do admit that I felt the same about Doc and they surprised me. So kind of anything could happen when it comes to that.
All right. Well, before we get you out of here, plug the podcast where people can follow you. Because again, you're working your ass off and you're coming out with great content. So for people to check it out, where can they go?
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. So, on Twitter, Joey Lynn _ last name Lynn, Linn with an underscore at the end. Obviously, I'm doing daily stuff for Sports Illustrated's Fan Nation. I cover the Clippers as a beat writer, so I'm there doing their stuff every day, but I also contribute to other Fan Nation sites like the Warriors and the Nets, like some of the bigger teams that need more help covering, their teams just to kind of get a little bit, more content out there, a little bit more revenue coming my way. So I do that as well. And then in terms of the podcast, it's called the Clips Convos Show because I started Clips Convos back in 2018 when I just wanted to start talking about the Clips and I thought it was fitting, conversation topics around the Clippers. Turn that into an Instagram page, clip.convos, turn it into a podcast with the Sporting Tribune. So we got kind of one everything. If you want to follow my tweets, and you can do that. If you like Instagram posts, got that, podcast writing, kind of got it all. So that's
Jack of all trades. You love to see it, baby. And
I appreciate you having me on.
We'll put it all down or up. No, you're actually going to be to the side. We'll make sure we get it all on the video right. And everything. Joey, it was a pleasure having you on the show. We'll check in with you here soon and keep kicking ass, bro.
I appreciate you, brother. You have a good one.
Felt good to finally talk some hoops in depth. Joey Lynn joining us. Awesome dude. And I didn't blow smoke up his ass when I said, yo, you work really hard and you're really out here. Like, no, I mean that sincerely. Literally from the morning with the injury report with the Clippers, which is important because obviously Kawhi doesn't play every game. Paul George doesn't play every game. So from the morning with the injury report, then he does his reporting of the team. Then it's game night and he's taking photos before the game and during the game that are amazing. Plus post-game pressers. Like, it's every angle, he's got it covered himself, doing it proper. So be sure to follow him at JoeyLynn_. And I said before we get out of here, I'd have a Royal Rumble prediction. And this one's difficult because it's like, if you didn't know, the WWE champion Roman Reigns, he's been the champ for like almost 2 years or past 2 years. It is past 2 years. It's like 874 days. It's a very long reign. We haven't seen it in years and decades, actually. So who's going to go up against him and presumably lose? Well, the plan was, because WrestleMania is taking place at SoFi Stadium, of course, that means it's going back to Hollywood. And who's a wrestler in Hollywood? Well, now we got John Cena and Batista, but more specifically, The Rock. Because if you didn't know, The Rock, Samoan, Roman Reigns, Samoan, both a part of the Samoanian lineage and family, literal family. The Rock's the big cousin to Roman Reigns. They wanted to set up that mega dream match. Icons of generations going at each other, but unfortunately, reports are The Rock's not going to be in shape and won't have the time to do it from The Rock's camp. So if he's out, there's been reports from Fightful, from Bleacher Report, that the WWE has offered a bag to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I know some of you aren't geeks like me that are in tune with wrestling, so if you didn't know, last year he main evented WrestleMania after not having wrestled in a very long time. But he was in great shape, and the match was 35 minutes, and it was one of the best matches of the year. So he's in shape. He's ready to go. He can still do it after being out of wrestling for so long. So if he goes up against Roman Reigns, how is he going to get that title shot? Well, if you win the Royal Rumble, you get to pick whoever you want to face at WrestleMania with the championship. So I think it would be kind of crazy and unexpected to have Stone Cold Steve Austin win the Royal Rumble, because if it's not him, I have no idea where they're going with this. Could it be Sami Zayn? Could it be one of the Usos? I don't know. We'd have to tune in to Peacock on Saturday. I hope you enjoy the Royal Rumble. I hope you have a wonderful week. Let's get our plugs in before we get out of here. At the Sporting Trib, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. Be sure to follow me at Adrian Radio 93 on Twitter, Heavyweight Radio on Instagram and TikTok, and lastly, Adrian CLE on YouTube. Again, have a wonderful weekend. Have a wonderful week. Episode 10, and if you didn't hear earlier, we will have a huge announcement about the future of this podcast next week. We look forward to it. Peace.